Hi, this is episode 25 of Super Awesome Film Club. Today we will be reviewing David Lynch's Eraserhead. My name is Blair-Freese. I am one of your regular panelists, although not your regular host. Joining me is Adelaide Blair. She is our usual host, and we also have Nick, our man about town.
Good evening.
So, as part of our third season, we are reviewing films that influenced us as movie viewers and inspired us to be more involved in film. And so I've chosen David Lynch's Eraserhead because it is, in contrary to my last movie about my feelings around movies and films. And a little background on the movie: it is a 1977 film written and directed by David Lynch. It stars Jack Nance as Henry Spencer, Charlotte Stewart as his girlfriend Mary X, Judith Roberts as the beautiful girl across the hall, and Laurel Near as the lady in the radiator. It is a hard-to-describe movie as far as the plot goes because it's a bit of a surrealist film, but it's basically about a guy who goes over to his girlfriend's house for dinner, finds out that she had a baby, which may or may not be a baby, and he's stuck with it. So last week we talked about Monty Python and the Holy Grail, which I watched when I was a kid, and I thought it broke the rules in all of the wrong ways. And I was not very pleased with the movie, even upon watching it later as an adult. But this movie I watched when I was in my mid to late teens, and it broke all the rules in exactly the right way. And then, of course, watching it again as an adult, I was very pleased, and I wanted to present it to you today as, yes, breaking the rules in all the right ways. There are some technical ways in which this film is very interesting and completely off the wall. The sounds in the movie are very jarring. So David Lynch uses all of these noises that kind of make you you're put in a very threatening kind of mood throughout the movie, which I think is really well done because the mood that that Henry is in is he feels kind of threatened throughout the film, and so that kind of is played onto you as the viewer, and I think it works, even though that's not a usual movie technique to put sounds like really in your face and very out of context to make you feel what the character is feeling. I think he does a very good job of doing that in a unique way. And the sounds are just really, really jarring throughout the entire movie. Another thing that I thought was very well portrayed is it's not a positive, happy movie. There is infanticide in this movie, and you can read into it however you want. But the way that I choose to kind of look at this film is that it's a story of a guy who is thrown. He kind of just lets life happen to him, and he's going through everything. And then he's thrown into being a parent. And being a parent is a stressful thing. And he's not sure if it's a baby. And, in a lot of cases, people aren't sure if it's their baby. And he now is stuck with the kid, and he has to take care of it. And he still wants to mess around with the girl across the hall. And he wants to, continue living this unproductive, really unresponsible lifestyle, but he's got this baby, and he ends up stabbing it to death, which is what I think a lot of new parents want to do. And so it's me, including maybe one of my own. But I think it's very expressive of some real things in a way that maybe isn't the obvious way of showing a movie, and I think that it succeeds. I think that you feel all of the things that you're meant to feel throughout the film. I think that you either do or don't get the messages that you're supposed to get, but that at the end you end up having the right kind of interaction with it. And that is my review. Nick, would you like to get into yours?
So I think that Eraserhead is basically a visual representation of a recorded dream. It's like somebody took a very detailed dream that they had written down in their dream journal and made it into a movie. And whether this is like from David Lynch's dream journal or from Henry's dream journal or from whoever's is really irrelevant. The important thing is that simply by existing and being a film, Eraserhead brings the sort of free associating unconscious human mind into the conscious world. So bear with me here. So, so just walk with me on this. And if we're not in the unconscious, we're in the conscious. Correct? Can we agree on that? Everything outside of the unconscious world is conscious. Okay. So, so you're watching a movie, right? And the movie takes place within the conscious world of the characters within the film. And every once in a while, there'll be a dream sequence in a movie. And that's when we leave the conscious world, go into the unconscious world that this movie is presenting to us, and then when the dream's over, we get to go back in the conscious world. But with Eraserhead, the entire thing is the dream. The entire movie takes place within this sort of unconscious sphere. And, you know, we're not allowed to exit this world until the movie actually ends. So in the context of Eraserhead, the conscious world is everything outside of the film, which includes us. And because of that, like this paradigm, this unconscious mind paradigm thing, it creates this sort of like collective unconscious that we're all a part of when we watch this film. And it's only like you can say that it's surreal, or you can label it a horror film, but it's only as surreal or horrific as the human mind itself. It's like one big stress dream, and of course the plot is completely irrelevant. Like the baby is not really the baby. It's the baby is whatever. It's this thing that that Henry is stuck with in the film, you know, and the whole thing is a stress dream pretty much. So I don't think that any film, at least up to that point, had ever really done anything like that. And I watched this in 2 sittings, and I went back last night and watched from the musical number with the lady in the radiator on, and I noticed that there are no scene divisions in this movie. Like if you're skipping through it, it's just one continuous sequence. Like there's not even a scene selection on the menu, so you have to fast forward to wherever you want to go, and that's because it moves forward exactly as a dream does. It like associates. It moves by association. So there's this one image. A good example is like when I think in the musical number part in Heaven, Jack Nance loses his head, and so we go from his head on the floor of this stage to his head on the street, which goes to the head of this old man who's just sort of laying there, and that brings us into the shop. And so it just like associates one thing with the next and keeps building off of itself, just as dreams do. The borders between things are really blurry. And I think it's like a perfect execution of a singular idea. And also, I would recommend watching the Eraserhead Stories documentary, which comes on. It's a special feature on most DVD releases, and it's pretty much just David Lynch talking for over an hour about his early career in making this film. And there are a few things more enjoyable on earth than listening to David Lynch speak.
All right. Thank you, Nick.
Sure.
And
Pardon? Me?
Mom? Yes.
Okay, so I first saw this when I was 18 years old. It would have been 1986, midnight movie showing at the Varsity Theater in Ashland, Oregon, with my boyfriend Scott, with whom I have seen many a great movie. So this film is very much a part of my film language from when I was younger. I appreciate this film more than I like it. And part of that is, while it is like a dream, and like a dream, it can sometimes be very tedious to me. It I don't read it as a dream. I read it as real things, and that's maybe because I'm a nutbag. But for for me, it's like it's not a dream. This is really happening, and all of these things just sort of, it's very disturbing to me because I don't see it as dreamlike. Because having been a parent, I was a young parent and an unexpected parent of a person who is an adult now, whom I love very much. But, I am not, being a parent was not the most, being a parent was not as fulfilling as meeting the person that grew up out of that. Like the relationship I have with Io now is much more fulfilling to me as a person. And I'm not going to say I wanted to kill her when she was a baby, but for a lot of people, all babies are little dinosaur monsters who are screaming nonstop. And for me, that makes it really hard for me to see this movie as a dream. And so to me, it is, what I like about it, though, is all these different things happening. Although I do want to say it is not nice to kill your dinosaur monster baby. I just don't kill your baby, people. It's not good.
Service announcement from Super Awesome Film Club.
PSA: don't kill your dino baby. So I have mixed feelings about this movie because in some ways it's very real to me, and those feelings I had, and also not just about being a parent, but being in a relationship with somebody who you may not have married or been in that kind of relationship without your dino baby. And that kind of struggle, like when they're in bed together and they are fighting over the space and she's going batshit crazy, and then all that weird, nasty sperm things are coming out of her, and that's like a lot of, I've had that relationship, minus the weird giving birth to sperm thingies. As far as I know, I mean, I was not awake during those times. So anything can happen while I'm sleeping. But yeah, so that to me takes it out of being a dream and makes it very, very real to me. And I enjoy that part of it because I think it is a wonderful metaphor for that, whether he intended that or not. The problem I have is I am somewhat handicapped in the sense that I do not like experimental movies in a way. Like, I like a traditional narrative. I like things paced well. And I have a hard time with the pacing of this movie, where everything lasts just a little too long. And I truly find it, if I'm not in the right mood to watch Eraserhead, I can find it tedious. And I understand why it's a very important movie. And under certain circumstances, perhaps being on LSD, I have really enjoyed watching this movie. But in other circumstances, I tend to get frustrated and need to take a couple breaks. While at the same time understanding why this is a great movie and why it's an important movie, but it's one that I appreciate more than I actually like.
See, I think that the pacing actually adds to the idea that it is so realistic in its surrealism, because it's like life. It just kind of drags on when the pacing is
I will agree with you on that, but I find that tedious to watch. If I wanted real life, I would sit and stare at my husband. But it turns out he doesn't like that. So I watch movies instead.
Yeah, I think that the pacing makes it more dreamlike, actually. And also, I think what you're talking about, how it's sort of like real life, but with the sperm things. I think that's how dreams work.
Yes, but so I think it is very dreamlike, but I can never enter that as a dream. I cannot enter the dream space because the feelings that evokes in me are too real.
Yeah.
And so for me, that experience is somewhat shut off, where I can intellectually go, yes, Nick, you are correct. This is a dream.
Mm-hmm.
But the feelings that it inspires in me because of my own difficulties in being, all of a sudden having a kid and being with somebody who I loved but did not want to be with. This movie is very much, and you know, I had Io at 22, so that's only 4 years after the first time I saw this movie, and I had probably seen it periodically throughout my adulthood. So it's not as easy for me to enter the dream state just because of the emotions that it evokes.
So
Yeah, it's an experience, and I don't know if it was made to be enjoyable. It's interesting to look at it that way.
Yeah, I don't think it is made to be enjoyable. I think it is a work of art, and it has much more complex layers than are people going to dig it.
Yeah. Yeah, my friend Keith, shout out to Keith, says that he's seen it so many times that it stopped being surreal or horrific, and it's now like a spiritual experience.
Huh.
And I think it has something to do with sort of tapping into this collective unconscious dream world.
Mm-hmm.
Because we can all be a part of it if you meet it on that level, as it were.
Yeah. I wonder, so thinking about it either in or out of a dream state, the way that I read into The Lady in the Radiator, and I think some of the people I read online as well have read into it, is kind of as Henry's consciousness.
Sure.
She is the consciousness, so I wonder how you guys see that, view that, if it is or isn't a dream, kind of the role that plays in the film. Because I think it's very interesting that David Lynch put a character in there that's really not supposed to be, like if you were to have a traditional film, you wouldn't show the consciousness in a visible form, throwing fits and stomping on babies and things of that nature.
I took that as like another layer within this dream world, and I totally agree. I think she can really be looked at as his conscience almost, and she's like pretty much telling him to kill the baby, I think.
So in my version of it being a more literal thing, she really is a little person behind the radiator that he's watching, who is very much wants to please him.
Mm-hmm.
And is stomping on those little spermy thingies to make him happy. Because, I mean, they are gross. But, yeah. So, yeah, for me, it all takes place. Like, it is what it is. And so, and you can see, and it's also interesting because I feel like she echoes things that are going to come up later in, like, Twin Peaks. Like, there's a lot of ideas in this film that you can see how they thread through his later work. Even simple things like having a checkered floor.
Oh yeah, completely, totally.
And to add to that,
sorry, go ahead, Io.
I was just gonna say I didn't know this, but fun fact: Jack Nance is Pete in Twin Peaks. If you
yep.
And
he's also in like every David Lynch movie too. Look out for him. He's sneaky. You don't always know he's there.
It's true.
And also, I'd just like to say, Eraserhead MVP for me is Grandma in the kitchen.
All she does is smoke.
She tosses the salad with a little help.
Well, does anybody else have anything that they would like to add before we wrap up this episode?
I'm good.
I covered everything I wanted.
I do think if you're looking for something a little bit different, a little bit off kilter, with a lot of value add, watch this movie. Definitely.
Go in for the experience. Don't go to have fun.
Yeah. If you're not having a good day or you're pregnant, do not watch this movie.
That's the thing, though. I came home last night and I knew I had to finish watching this film, and I wasn't looking forward to it because I was like, I'm just in a shitty mood right now, and this is going to be weird and dark, and everything's going to suck. But I got really excited watching it. So don't discount it as an enjoyable piece of work.
Maybe that's the catharsis. All right, then. To wrap up, join us in 2 weeks where we will talk about my third and final movie, Fargo, which is one of my all-time favorites. This has been episode 25. I hope you guys enjoyed it. I'll see you in 2 weeks.
Watch the skies, everybody.
Guys.